Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, the former city manager of McKinney, and his wife. Looks like they were killed by their son, murdered by their son, allegedly, reportedly, yada, 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 whatever keeps the lawyers at bay. I think I figured out why this bothers you so much. It bothers me a whole lot, too. First, let me get the report here from WFAA, the terrible news about a McKinney couple over the holidays. You know, you thought you had a rough holiday. Well, count your blessings. It was better than these people.
Well, McKinney police say this all started as a welfare check that quickly turned into a disturbing scene here at this home behind me. Police say once officers went inside, they found both a husband and wife dead. Officers also found the adult son inside of the home, armed with a long gun when shots were fired. McKinney police say a relative who lives out of state hadn't heard from the couple in several days and called in a welfare check last night. Police say officers came but didn't find any suspicious reasoning to prompt them to go inside. We're told that same relative called again this morning, and once officers got here, they forced entry into the home through the back door. Police say right as they walked in, they found Leonard Frank Reagan and his wife Jackie Reagan dead in the living room. Frank Reagan is the former city manager of McKinney about 10 years ago. As officers continued to check the residence, they found 34-year-old Bryce Reagan, the couple's son, inside a bedroom with a long gun. I'm told officers gave him several commands to put down the gun, but he didn't. That's when police say officers shot him, hitting him multiple times. He was taken to a hospital in stable condition, but we haven't heard his condition as of now. Neighbors who live here say they heard the gunshots early this morning, and I'm told the couple had lived here for years. And right now, McKinney police are trying to figure out how and when exactly the couple died. Police say no officers were injured.
So this is another story that might remind you, rightfully so, of the Rob Reiner stories that we were all hearing right before Christmas out. It looks like reportedly, allegedly, whatever. He got murdered by his son, he and his wife. Mom and dad. This does not sit well with you for a couple of very just basic instinct reasons. Number one is, of all the people on Earth you murdered, like your nuclear family should be last on the list, but you see it over and over in the news. So you know that's not the case. In fact, you know, unless you're rolled up in the drug game or, you know, you're some sort of convicted felon that's in a criminal enterprise, the most likely person to murder you is going to be a family member. A mom, a dad, a son, a daughter, a spouse. Let me tell you why this bothers me so much and see if you can relate. One of the reasons these child murdering their parents stories make me so mad is because all the sacrifices that you go through as a parent. You gave up your freedom. You gave up all of your weekends. You gave up sleeping in. In fact, you didn't sleep probably for the first 6 to 8 months the baby was alive, and then it was interrupted on a regular basis until they're about 3 or 4, unless you're lucky. All the money you spend, all the effort to get them in good schools. Some of you poor people have to pay for schools. All for what? For a guy that's going to grow up and kill you? You wake up early to take them to cross country at 6 a.m. You got to wake them up and take them to band camp whenever that's starting up in August. You got to travel all over Texas and part of North Louisiana to go to volleyball tournaments and piano recitals and soccer practice and jazz camp and all this for someone who's just going to grow up and murder you. All these sacrifices you make. You could live in a better house. In fact, you don't even want to live where you live now. You moved there because of the schools. Why? For this brat that's just going to grow up and kill you. That's what's terrible about this. Everything a parent does, especially if it's a good parent. Yeah, if it's a parent that's been abusive of their kid and they had it coming, that's not your experience, is it? Your experience is a sacrifice. Your experience is when you chose the home, what school district is it in? Not is it in a cool part of town or what shops are within walking distance or there's a good bar next door that has karaoke on Thursday. No, that part of you dies when you have a kid. That cool part of you dies. And you give it up and you start making decisions for what? For the person that's going to kill you. Yeah, that's why that bothers me so much. My family, my heart grieves for the family. I hate every single one of these stories. It stops me in my tracks, even when I read the headlines, even if I don't click through and read the whole story. It's because I don't want to be reminded about what an injustice that is. What an absolute tragedy that is. And if it happened in the Parker family, I think we know which one it'll be. Me and Miss Parker have talked about this before. Because when you look at the odds, now when you review the stories that you've heard in your head in the news from this, it's probably not going to be one of your daughters. It's probably going to be one of your sons. And so we have 4 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys. That narrows it down to the 2 boys. And I think it would be kid number 3. I think if one of my kids murder me, mark this show, come back, see if my prediction was right. See if it was number 3. All right, coming up next on the James Show, we have some history that may be being made here. WFAA has the quick briefing here on the Ukraine-Russia situation.
President Donald Trump says he believes Russian President Vladimir Putin is ready for peace. He spoke with him and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky yesterday. Now President Trump says a deal could be close to ending that war between Russia and Ukraine. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has the latest.
Ukraine is ready for peace.
This morning, President Trump says Russia and Ukraine may be very close to a peace deal after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago on Sunday. Trump also spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin for hours on the phone.
We could be very close. There are 1 or 2 very thorny issues.
The president saying a major sticking point in attempting to reach a peace deal is the territory. Zelensky proposing a 20-point peace plan, which includes stronger security guarantees and a demilitarized buffer zone in the contested Donbas region of Ukraine. But Zelensky cautions any plan would likely need approval by the Ukrainian people.
If the plan will be very difficult for our society, very difficult, of course, our society has to choose and has to vote because it's their land, the land not of one person, it's the land of our nation for a lot of generations.
Over the weekend, Russia launched one of its biggest attacks on Ukraine in months, killing 2 people and injuring dozens more, leaving families without electricity, freezing in the cold. Trump saying Putin does not want to be forced to stop fighting, only to have to start again.
He doesn't want to be in that position. I understand that position. You know, you have to understand the other side.
Both President Zelensky and Trump said peace talks will continue in the coming weeks, including a possible meeting with European leaders, potentially at the White House.
Coming up next on the James Show, our foreign affairs expert, David Hamilton from the National Security and Economic Center at UNT, is going to be on the James Show to talk about if we really are close to a peace deal with Russia and Ukraine. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. All right. You've been teased with this. Are you going to get peace in Ukraine? Let's ask my next guest on the James Show, News Talk 820 FM. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And I'd heard them talking about this earlier. David Hamilton from the National Security and Economic Center at UNT coming back on. I mean, is this really going to happen this time? Because I felt like we've had this conversation before, David. Wow. Okay. You actually put a window on it that's fairly short. So, David Hamilton, what is this business that Zelensky was talking about where he says, well, we can agree to something, but I still have to put it to a referendum of the people? That's, he doesn't have to, does he? Elections in the meantime, right? I get that. So it's not a necessity, but it's kind of a political tool for him in a domestic sense. So, David Hamilton, we're talking with David Hamilton, National Security Economic Center at UNT. Say we do get this settled, Putin's not going to turn into a super nice guy. Is he just going to go for the next grab after this? And what would that be? Gotcha. So what does this deal with the Crimea and their position? Is there any chance they couldn't be Russia after this? So, David Hamilton, if this does get wrapped up, our military industrial complex is going to want to blow up missiles somewhere. Is that going to be Venezuela? All right, good stuff. David Hamilton, what do you guys got planned for 2026? All right, this is David Hamilton from the National Security and Economic Strategy Initiative at UNT. Thank you very much for your help on the James Show. Appreciate it, sir. And Happy New Year. Coming up next, it's the terrible, scary story of a daughter who's kidnapped while walking the dog. The dad plays hero, rescues the daughter before the cops got to him, and he tracked her through the cell phone. You'll hear the heroic story next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. That's something that Gen Xers laugh about, and we tell younger people, like, our parents didn't even know where we were. They had to be reminded by the news that they even had kids. But this takes that to a not so funny level at all. This is a Texas dad, town of Porter. If you don't know where Porter's at, if you're coming out of Houston on 59, going north when you get past Humble, it's right there. So the far north Houston exurbs is where we're at. KHOU has the report.
A 23-year-old man is being held without bond after the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office says he allegedly kidnapped a 15-year-old girl on Christmas Day. Officials say the girl's father was able to rescue her before deputies took the suspect into custody. Tonight, the family of the teen is speaking with our Amanda Henderson. Amanda?
Yeah, Len, it's a lot of emotions, as you can imagine, but specifically gratitude from her parents that their daughter is back home. Now, this is 23-year-old Giovanni Rosales Espinosa. He is the man accused of allegedly threatening their 15-year-old daughter at knife point while she was out walking her dog. And the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office says this all happened Christmas evening, just yesterday before 5 p.m. in Porter, Texas. And authorities say when the girl was walking her dog, she failed to return home. So her father took action. Officials saying he tracked his daughter's phone through parental controls, finding her and the dog in the suspect's vehicle in a wooded area before rescuing her. And while the family isn't ready to go on camera, they did give us permission to use this statement, saying, quote, "We're thankful tonight our daughter is safe, at home, and with us recovering. We'd also like to clarify, none of us knew the suspect." And again, the suspect, Espinosa, has been charged with aggravated kidnapping and indecency with a child. He does not have a bond. Montgomery County Sheriff says, in part, quote, "Detectives worked tirelessly to ensure this dangerous predator was swiftly apprehended and is now off our streets." In the newsroom, Amanda Henderson, KHOU 11 News.
All right, my ratings say I do really well with women, but I want to talk to the men out there, especially dads. Dads, how is this guy alive? How do you not just find this guy that kidnapped your 15-year-old daughter by knife point? You've been worried sick. You track her phone. He's in, what was that, like a van or something? In various states of undressed, partially undressed. How do you not just rip that guy's head off? And I don't mean that as a metaphor. I think my adrenaline would be running. I think I'd be on so much adrenaline that I would just take the knife out of the guy's hand and just saw his head off like it was a finishing move on Mortal Kombat. And I'm not saying that to be bombastic. I'm not saying that to be like, yeah, I'm a big alpha man. I'm a big tough guy. I just think I would be so freaked out, and I would be so ginned up, and I would be so angry, and I would be so enraged. I don't understand how a dad doesn't in the guy's life, because I think you would be justified in doing so. And then I got to think out there, it's like there's some dads out there that don't agree with that. There's some people out there that think, well, you can't just take someone's life just because they kidnapped your daughter. No one would dare call in a radio show and admit that. But I don't know how this guy's still alive. I really don't. But a couple of things I'd like to throw at you here now that this story's got your attention. Number one, do you know how to track your kids? Do you know how to track their phone? I do. In fact, it's become kind of a game between me and the family. We're all tracking each other at all times. I don't understand how people cheat on their spouse in 2025 or going into 2026. I would recommend against it. You're going to get busted. But do you know how to track your kids like that? I hope you do. Because the cringy thing that I know most of my listeners are a little bit older than me, but I'm in the trenches right now. I've got 4 kids. They're all in school. I've got all the things going on. And whenever we have the discussions on whether or not kids should be allowed to have cell phones or what age is appropriate for them to have cell phones, should they have cell phones in school? People use their cell phones too much. How do you keep your kids, restricted on their cell phone use? Once you dive in there in the technology, it's kind of taking care of itself. They like to scare you on the news like things are all out of control and cell phones are simultaneously the worst thing and best thing in the world. But you can track the snot out of your kids these days. I know I do. They don't know they're not listening right now, are they? If they are, turn it off. Because I can go through their browser history. I can go through their phone history. I can go through their chat messages, their chat bubbles, deleted stuff. There's so much you can do, and they're not good about covering their tracks. But you can restrict the kids' cell phones. You can restrict it to where they can only use a handful of things, handful of features at a time. You can give them a cell phone and you can turn off Snapchat. You can turn off parental controls, can let you do so much. And once you understand that, most of the fear around cell phones and children just comes from ignorance. Oh, you got all these pedophiles are preying on your children, and the cell phone gives them access to the pedophilic world, and well, cut them off. Why don't you go learn something? Why don't you go dig into the parental control, see what you can do? There's a lot you can do about it. Apple thought of this before, and they thought if we're going to have parents buying kids for their phones, we might want to give them some control over how to use it. But what an amazing, beautiful story that is. Number 2, did you hear anything about the immigration status of our kidnapper? I didn't, but they sure did hit the accent real hard when they said his name, didn't they? Did they mention race in this story anywhere? Do you know the race of the people involved? Do you know the race of the girl that was kidnapped or the guy that did it? Not important. They don't want you to know that then. No, race is super important if it makes you look bad. Race is super important if it helps the narrative. But God forbid they told the truth. Because I don't know if that guy's illegal. But you have to wonder if he is. You have to wonder, is this another situation that if not for a studious dad that was paying attention and technically savvy, that we'd have another Laken Riley, another Jocelyn Nungery, another of the dozens, hundreds, probably thousands of daughters that have been lost to illegal immigrants? What do you want to bet if we go through the records that we may find some darling, bleeding heart judge had this guy in her courtroom recently and decided to let him off with a light touch, either with low bail or no bail or reduced bail or a suspended sentence or plea deal? Because the scary part is when you start looking at the numbers, how many of these situations could have been prevented if and only if we would keep criminals in jail once they presented themselves, committed violent crimes, and were convicted in a court of law. Texas is not immune. This happened in Texas, but we have that strain of thought in our judicial system as well. We have those judges. We have Team Blue judges. Dude, what do you think is going on in downtown Dallas versus downtown Fort Worth? Why is the crime rate some months 11 times higher in downtown Dallas versus downtown Fort Worth? One of the first things you can look at is when you have these guys, do you lock them up? Do you cooperate with ICE? Do you deport them? Do you let them out on easy bail, light bail, no recognizance bond? Do you do a bunch of suspended sentences and plea deals? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. More on the Texas dad who rescued his daughter by tracking her cell phone next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. I'm your host, James Parker. And Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins actually talked about this story. A Texas dad, Porter, far north Houston, almost East Texas, almost counts as bug tussle territory. It's so far out of Houston. But Montgomery County, his daughter went out to walk the dog on Christmas evening. Not Christmas Eve, but Christmas in the evening. She was gone a really long time. Dad got a little suspicious, tracked her phone. She was gone. She had been kidnapped at knife point by some guy that, they don't know any kind of the demographic information about him. And God, I don't know how we would find such a thing. And Parker, I don't know why it's important. Why is it important that the media tell you the race of the guy? I mean, why does that matter at all? Shut up. You know that they love to hammer it, just love to hammer it if it makes you look bad, if it makes me look bad. And this is just what it sounds like if a white guy does something bad to a black person.
Images now circulating on social media of a black man dying after being shot by a white police officer.
The Justice Department is investigating the death of Alton Sterling, a black man shot to death by a white police officer outside a convenience store.
In the past 48 hours, 2 more American cities have been convulsed by the fatal shootings of African-American men by white police officers.
They don't want you to know that your daughters are being targeted. Why? Oh, because of racism, because of fake racism. Didn't we fix that? Didn't we put in racism in the end zones and NFL games for the last 5 years? That didn't fix it? Oliver and Prosper, you're on WBAP.
Hello. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that it's just like almost separated. And when one group or one area does something, it's this whole thing. But when another group does the literal exact same thing, and the only difference is where they came from, there's just this complete shift in whose fault it was and everything like that.
Oliver, how old are you?
12.
How are you so aware of this, sir?
Because I'm relevant in the world.
I guess so.
Relevant, I mean, I pay attention to things, that kind of sort.
Well, I have a 12-year-old, and he's not listening to the James Show right now.
Oh, I don't know. It's just, like, fun to listen to.
Well, I like you. Well, how do you, I guess you normally listen when your mom picks you up from school and then you're in the back seat and she's forcing you to listen and it kind of grew on you. Is that how it happened?
No, I was just, me and my dad listen to the Levin show every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I usually just listen to it while I do like model cars and that kind of thing.
Super cool. All right. What was your other point, Oliver? I'm impressed so far. Go ahead.
Well, phone-wise, there should be restrictions, and we do in my family track each other. And as you said, it is kind of like a game almost. We always know where we are at the same time. And that's a good thing because, I mean, Lord knows if one of us, me and my sister ever got like kidnapped or something and we were somewhere and we didn't have our phones. I mean, obviously, that's good to be able to be tracked. You should have restrictions and everything. It keeps you responsible and it makes sure that your parents know where you are at all times. And if something happens to them, then you can know where they are.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And we play games with it too. If my wife goes to the store, if she's coming back from some place and I'm home already, I'll track when she's about to pull into the driveway and I'll run out there and stand in the driveway to meet her. So that's kind of cute. Also, if you're on like a road trip, like we went to the Netflix house this weekend. Did you know that they have like Stranger Things and Squid Games or whatnot up at the Galleria? And my in-laws were in town, and so we were in separate cars because there's like 100 of us. And if you get separated on the highway and they don't know, they can just follow your dot. Just pick up the phone, follow my dot. You can't see me. You can see my dot at all times. So, Oliver, what's your school policy? Do you get to take your phones to school?
Well, I don't take my phone to school. It's just a family thing, and I don't have a problem with it. Because what use of a phone do you have at school?
Oh, I text my kids back and forth at school quite a bit. And also they let me know, I forgot I have band rehearsal after school. Can someone come pick me up at 5 o'clock or something? It's to the communication thing. For
sure. But I mean, it is kind of different for me because my mom does work at the school. So it is kind of a thing. My sister brings it to school because she's in high school. But I mean, as a 12-year-old during school, I just don't feel like you're going to need it or anything. So it's not that big of a deal.
All right. am impressed that you've been on the phone for over 3 minutes now, and you haven't made a 6-7 reference. So thank you, sir. That's Oliver and Prosper.
Oh, I'm doing the hand motion right now.
6-7. Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Oliver. Thanks for listening to the James Show and calling in, bud.
Yes, sir.
Andrew in Dallas, you're next up on WBAP.
It's hard to follow up on that after that call, but I'm going to give it a shot. I got to say, I agree with everything that you're saying as far as how does a parent control themselves as a father of 2 kids. And, the surprising part about that news report was that he was waiting for the police and not the coroner. The only thing I can think about is that cooler heads prevailed. The trauma that she'd already been through, he didn't want to put her through anymore.
Yeah, well, baby, turn your head. I don't want you to see this. I don't know.
I agree. I don't know how he did it, but more power to him for doing it.
I know, Andrew, like I'm calm and collected, and people can call in and they can yell at me on the radio, and I don't get all upset or whatever. It is really hard to get me upset. I have a really high threshold for flying off the handle. You can insult me all day and I'll probably laugh at it. But once I do, like once I get in that little rage mode, once there is adrenaline, I really don't understand how these guys stop themselves. I do, and more power, or I should say I'm impressed by their self-control, because I don't think I'd be able to do that.
No, not at all.
All right, thank you. That's Andrew in Dallas.
I don't get it, but I can appreciate it. Have a good day.
All right. Coming up next on the James Show, what did Jasmine say this time? And it's going to kind of dovetail into the topic we're going to talk about after that. The economy is doing pretty good, but if the news never admits it, does the rest of America even know? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. I know. Good to see you, too. Calm down. Calm down. All right. For my next trick on the show, what the heck did Jasmine Crockett say this time?
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body, Governor Hot Wheels, and he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
Jasmine Crockett says Trump is about to send us to the Great Depression. No joke.
Right now, he's just compounding issues. And I know that you mentioned the Great Depression. And yeah, we're not there yet, but there are estimates from experts that think that we are on track. I mean, we've lost 1.1 million jobs since he swore in just in January. It has not been a full year. And when we look at these elections that have taken place, whether we're looking at November 4th or whether we're looking at these special elections, I think what you're seeing is people are signaling that they are not happy with anything that is going on, whether it's the tariffs or the other policies that are making it more difficult for our economy to sustain itself.
Yeah, so Great Depression, sure. That's where we're at. You remember that Great Depression where you had 4.3% GDP growth? You remember that terrible part of the Great Depression? Oh, yeah, that wasn't a thing. That was actually really good. This reminds me of the hurricane and sort of weather prediction narrative that happens every year. We talked about this. I've mapped it out for you the last 2 years in a row. I'm going to do it again in 2026 because it's so fun and it's such a good learning tool. The way they report on hurricanes is they tell you about March or April or May that, hurricane season starts June 1st and the experts are already predicting an above average hurricane season. Same experts that Jasmine Crockett just referenced here. Well, the experts are saying that we're leading toward the Great Depression. Really? Are these the same expert that says inflation was transitory right before it went up to 9%? But they will tell you, yes, above average hurricane season. And then hurricane season will start and you'll get a flurry of reports where this is going to be the start. All the experts are saying above average hurricane season. You'll be halfway through. This year, we were halfway through hurricane season. It was dead this year. They were saying, well, after a slow start, experts are saying that things are going to ramp up for the second half of hurricane season. So just look out. We're not in the clear yet. And then now it's at the end of hurricane season. They never go back and tell you, especially with the same amount of coverage that they gave the reports that it was an above average hurricane season. Like, jeepers, we've been wrong for the entire year. We take it all back. It was a below average hurricane season. We had a below average hurricane season this year, just so you know. So we go back and you can see Jasmine Crockett predicting a recession earlier this year. Now, she was wrong when she made this prediction. I have one this is in January.
I just tweeted not too long ago about the fact that our unemployment numbers are going to go up. We are headed for a full-on recession. And that is not me trying to be an alarmist. That is me trying to get you to pay attention.
Okay, so now that you've been proven wrong, then that was you just trying to be an alarmist. That was you just trying to get people's attention. You weren't right. You don't know what you're talking about, or you've demonstrated a shortcoming in your ability to predict economic trends here. Because as we stand now, we just got the numbers from the third quarter, 4.3%. She was predicting a recession. Not only is it not a recession, 4.3%. It's double the average annual growth since 2000. She said it again in February.
We are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you if you are unable to find a job, because I am telling people we are headed towards a recession because the United States.
Yeah. We're headed towards. So this is what she was saying back in January and February of this year. We can fast forward now. It's almost the end of the year. Recession. Did it happen? No. Are we going to have a negative quarter GDP growth for the fourth quarter? No one's predicting it. So if she was so wrong then, why would she be right now? She's not. Is she ever going to go back and correct the record? She was talking to Chris Hayes. That's the female version of Rachel Maddow on an M. Snow. Did he actually bring up, hey, you said we were going to be in a recession back in January and February and pretty much every month this year. You've been proven wrong over and over again. Are you still listening to those same experts who gave you the wrong info at the beginning of the year? No, it's never going to happen. The dastardly part of this is the feelings and the reportings on a bad economy can override the fact that we have a good economy. People are going to go to the ballot box in less than a year. In fact, we have primaries that are happening in March, so less than 3 months, like just 2.5 months away. But in November, there's going to be the midterms. Not even 10 months in a couple weeks. And if the people feel like the economy's slow, if they feel like the economy is bad, whether it's bad or not, that is going to be bad for the incumbent party, which in this case is the Republicans. Do you understand the job that the media does here? The media doesn't care if the economy is doing good or bad. They are going to tell you it's bad for the next 3 years, period, point blank, end of story. You're never going to get good news. And there's plenty of good news to report. The idea that we have stock markets at all-time record highs, if you're going to have a segment on the economy, that deserves a mention. The fact that the unemployment rate, while it was higher than it was a year ago, it's higher than it was 2 months ago, 4.6%. It's slightly below average on a historical basis. We have more jobs now. In fact, we've never had as many people employed for the last number that we have, November of 2025. This is the highest number of people that have ever been employed. Highest stock market. GDP growth, 4%, 4.3%. Double the annual average in the last 25 years. But it doesn't matter if the common voter never hears it. This is from our news partner, WFAA. They had some weekend morning show. I don't know these people, but they were talking about the economy. And I just wanted you to hear this. After I told you all the good parts in the economy, they're going to have a 3.5-minute segment where they don't mention any of that, any of those 3 big points that I just told you. Stock market's all-time highs, unemployment, pretty reasonable, kind of record levels if you want to look at the nominal numbers. And then GDP growth, double the annual average. This is how they report it.
This year has been a rough one for the U.S. economy, from company layoffs to rising inflation, increased costs and prices, and more people are just not sure how things will turn out for the new year.
Oh my God, that's just the intro. It's been a rough economy. 4.3% is not a rough economy. Oh my goodness. Do we have skyrocketing unemployment that I'm not aware of? 4.6% is a good number. Anyway.
Joining me this morning, we got Ken Calhoun from Open Air Advisors to tell us more about the biggest economic stories of 2025.
What? Do you think he's going to bring up the 3 big things I talked about? Of course not.
Good morning. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, Ken, let's get straight to it. What are some of the most notable economic stories from this year?
I think you have to start with the tariffs. We've seen a huge adjustment, structural adjustment to how we handle our trade relationships with other countries.
Oh my God. All right. Then it just gets worse from there. That is so dishonest. You're bringing up, oh, it's a terrible, it was a rough 2025 for the economy. Oh, yeah, I hate how a record amount of Americans have the highest 401k they've ever had. I hate how everyone's IRAs at record levels, how right now it is easier for the average American to retire than it was a year ago under the previous guy. Oh, yeah, I hate record stock markets. Oh, I hate it when unemployment is below average. Oh, I hate it when GDP growth is double the annual average. Oh, yeah, it's just so terrible. The dishonesty is profound, but you can't ignore it because it does affect voters out there. You go ask people in the street, you go look at some of these surveys, how they feel about the economy. They're like, oh, it's terrible. Is the economy actually terrible? No, but the media's talked them into it, and they just don't know any better. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Trump forbids some words from pre-K. I'll make it make sense in about 4 minutes. This is The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Did you hear about this forbidden words list for Head Start? Head Start, the pre-K program that's been just a perennial waste of your taxpayer dollars for decades. Every study they do on Head Start that the government itself commissions come back and says it's a complete worthless waste of money. And so then they decide to expand the program every time. It's one of the most confounding, hair-tearing out things, but also par for the course for government. Now, check this out. Trump has told these different Head Start programs, because there's not one general Head Start program. It's different at the state level, and every school district or whatever comes up with their own program. And then they solicit the federal government for grants. And if they follow the Head Start, if they meet the Head Start qualifications, then they can get some federal taxpayer money that you're getting the bill for. So with all that said, Trump wants to get rid of DEI and all this woke stuff that's the just leftist indoctrination that necessarily comes with government programs. And so he put up a list of forbidden words saying, listen, if this is part of your program, you're not going to get federal dollars. And they're acting like this is just some egregious Hitlerian move here. But for me, I think it's kind of common sense, obvious, par for the course. But I do enjoy how it makes the anchors on MSNO so upset.
According to a new court filing, the Trump administration sent pre-K programs a 6-page list of words that they are forbidden from using when describing themselves, or else they will lose public funding. Among the hundreds of apparently dangerous banned words, race, accessible, disability, Gulf of Mexico, minority, trauma, tribal, belong, and women.
We see in Head Start in particular where the banned words include some of Head Start's core constituencies like tribal, Native American, Black, Latinx, disabilities. And it's trying to erase these communities from the program, even though they're some of the very families that Congress designed the program for. I mean, how can you teach kids with disabilities if you can't acknowledge that kids with disabilities exist? It sounds nonsensical because it is, but that's why I think it's important to consider the larger agenda of these DEI bans, not just within Head Start, but all across the federal government.
Just in all Head Start. Why are we giving any of them federal money? Especially if that's your response. Good Lord. How much of your money has to be flushed down the toilet? You know, the number one trending video over the weekend, the day after Christmas, a guy released a video, and he's not like some great journalist. It's just a guy, Nick, who went to all these Somali daycares and autistic centers and home health care, whatever places, and they were all empty. They were all empty, just wasting your money. And people are trying to ignore it. The networks are trying to ignore it. You don't care? You don't care when just billions of your dollars are being thrown away on these programs that do nothing? Head Start is a waste of money. Head Start is an excuse for government daycare for kids, because that's all it is. It doesn't improve educational outcomes, even when the government studies itself. For the little bit of change they can see for the kids when they're in Head Start and in kindergarten and first grade, second grade, it disappears by the 5th grade. But what the heck do you need to use the word Latinx for if you're starting a pre-K program or a pre-K 3? What is so important about a government program that it has to be funded involuntarily by the taxpayers so you can give instruction of any kind to a 3-year-old? If you can't run a Head Start, if you can't run a preschool without using the term Latinx, you probably shouldn't be in charge of a preschool. And I just, the breakdown that they have, the reaction they have, how can you even educate kids with disabilities when you're not allowed to admit that kids with disabilities exist? What? What does that have to do with anything? Not one person. Does anybody on planet Earth, Team Red, Team Blue, Team I don't even know, does anybody think kids with disabilities don't exist? Is there one person in the history of humanity, going back to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, that thinks kids with disabilities don't exist? What a ridiculous statement. What a fatuous, not even possible statement. Remember back in the Abu Ghraib days or Guantanamo Bay days when they're trying to convince you that we were mistreating the sweet Taliban and Al Qaeda terrorists that perpetrated 9/11. They're flushing Qurans down the toilet. Is it even possible? Listen to me. Is it even physically possible to flush a book down a toilet? It's not even a true. Not only is it not a true statement, it's not a possible statement. How can we treat kids with disabilities when we can't admit that they exist? Everyone knows they exist. We just don't want any of our money to go on race-based stuff. I'm tired of you taking money from people and giving it to other groups of people based solely on the color of their skin. How many of these special programs were for me growing up? 0. You know, there's a very unpopular thing that Ayn Rand said in an old interview. I think it was with Mike Wallace, or it might have been Phil Donahue back in the day. But he was challenging her on, she's not a big fan on spending tons of money on special education, especially through the public schools. And it's not that she wants to mistreat special kids. It's not that she wants to, grind them underfoot. But if we're spending millions and millions of dollars to educate someone who, at the end, best case scenario, is going to read at a 3rd grade level, what are we doing for the smartest kids in class? What are we doing for the ones that are actually special, as in above average intelligence? Do we have any special buses or programs or alternative schools for that top 10, 5% of students that are going to carry the rest of society on their back when they grow up? Or are they just going to have to piece it together themselves? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Texas teacher busted with inappropriate contact with a student. Also has kiddie porn, pleads guilty, and the softy judge does not give him any jail time. You'll hear about that next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Do you know who is teaching your kids? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We'll get to that in just a second after we talk to Joe in Grapevine. You're on WBAP. Hey, Joe.
James, thank you first for what you've done for the community and for this country and the voice you have given us throughout the year, my friend. And when I compliment you and have in the past, I mean it. I'm a former Marine, and I don't hand out compliments unless I feel like that they have been earned. I'm a former, non-commissioned officer, and I can tell you, you've earned it, my friend. So thank you. James, you said what can we do? What can you do when nobody's listening to the media? A lot of people aren't listening to the media, in my opinion, James, because they're tuning out, because they realize that for years they were lied to. That's why CNN's bottom fell out. That's why a lot of these, they don't trust them anymore. They're turning to the internet. They're turning to YouTube and all these other places. And they're also turning to stations like you, James. You are a voice. You're a voice of the people. You're a modern-day Paul Revere. You are alarming, alerting. You're informing. You're updating. You are doing a great job, almost as if you were a single person in the military. And I can tell you, my friend, I have never seen, I used to see it years ago, WBAP needs to advertise more. They need to advertise with billboards. I used to see on 35 coming and going out of Dallas, and I would see billboards with your ad on it. Maybe they're still there, but advertise it, my friend, and stay on the topic a little bit longer. I tell people about your show and others on this station all the time, everywhere I go. Everybody out there listening can be a voice. The same way as we have a podcast or a voice on the internet, we can be a voice when we walk into a grocery store, get our tires changed, get our lube, updated, whatever we're having to do. I make it a point to think of something to make it, topical and bring up, well, if you want some information, you got to check out this radio station in the afternoon. James, man, he's a hoot, man. He'll tell you the way it is. And if he doesn't agree with you, he'll tell you like it is. But, James, keep doing what you're doing. Like I said, I'm being redundant, and I apologize.
No, that's fine.
Everybody out there, pass the word. Pass the word. Thank you, James.
Love you,
buddy.
Well, thank you. And I all your compliments, totally agree with all that. I don't think CNN and MSNBC are necessarily declining because people are tired of being lied to and they're turning to the truth. They're declining because they're a linear feed, and every second that someone spends on a TikTok or an Instagram or a YouTube is the time they used to spend on other traditional broadcast platforms, and usually it was a linear feed. It was TV or it was radio. And so people were just kind of peeling off of that. Remember out in the 80s when people were almost ubiquitously watching TV over the air and they slowly switched to cable? And for every person that was watching WFAA on cable, that was one less person that was watching on the air feed. That's kind of what we have going on now, more so than CNN and MSNBC have just lost credibility with their audience. No, they still have Team Blue. The Team Blue audience is about the same as it was beforehand. It's just fractured over a lot more platforms. I wish what you were saying was true because Fox News, their numbers are going to be contracting from here for the foreseeable future. One of the reasons you're not seeing as many WBAP billboards now as in the past is because our business is contracting. I don't know what our numbers are specifically for WBAP. Heck, I've only been here for 2 years, but at previous stations I've been on, we contracted about, 5 to 10% a year. And that's been since I've been paying attention in 2005. So we just have less money to go around. The one thing that you can do, you are doing. Telling other people about the show, that's the best thing you can do. Spreading the word and trying to get people to listen. Thank you very much. But not all of that is because I'm right and they're wrong. When you say I'm the modern day Paul Revere, we have if I go out and I talk to 100 people, maybe 5 of them will know who I am. Probably less than that if it was a random sample. So I appreciate the high praise, though. I really do. This next story is going to bother you, though. There's a teacher in Round Rock, and he's busted for sex crimes involving children. At this point, almost not even news. But let's go ahead and tell you why this one bothers me. For one thing, is he has quite a list. He has a rap sheet behind him. He's facing indecency with a child by sexual contact, I should say. Possession of 50 or more images or videos of child, stuff. He has been in trouble before. There was another one in 2023, indecency with a child by sexual contact. So he's a repeat offender. Over the years, he has posted bonds totaling $125,000. And he just had his case resolved from the 2024 arrest. And in this one, he's not going to get any jail time. That's the story. He's going to get, right, made a plea deal. And in exchange for admitting his guilt on the improper relationship charge, the state dismisses the other 2 felony charges. Judge Stacey Matthews sentenced Mr. Perez to 10 years of deferred adjudication. You know what deferred adjudication means? Nothing. It means you got 10 years hanging over your head. As long as you don't get in trouble again, you're not going to go to jail. If you do get in trouble again, you're going to have to face that 10-year sentence. You're going to have to serve out the rest of that in a jail somewhere. But the point is, if he follows the court-ordered terms of his probation, that charge will be dismissed. And Mr. Perez, in 10 years, will no longer have a permanent criminal record. What are we doing? What an amazing plea agreement this guy got. Now he has to permanently surrender his Texas teaching certificate, but if there's nothing on his background check, could he not get another one from Texas? Could he not go somewhere else and get one? Could he not, I don't know, maybe volunteer at a church or some little league or some other place that has access to kids and misbehave again? If you run a background check on him after he serves his 10 years of deferred adjudication, nothing's going to show up. And if this doesn't make you throw up already, Mr. Perez has been certified to teach secondary science for more than 20 years. Online records show that he taught in Round Rock ISD for at least 10 years. Do you really know who's teaching your kids? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about what did you get your spouse for Christmas and what did your spouse get you? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. What did you get for Christmas? So the top gifts were nerdy stuff. Like, these lists are worthless because half of this stuff is based around Yankees. Like, one of the top 10 gifts was an electric blanket. Ooh, did you get your spouse an electric blanket? No, because it was 86 degrees on Christmas. So before Christmas, we were hanging out on the James Show, and I was trying to convince you what your husband really wants for Christmas. And the number one thing on my list that your husband wants for Christmas is a tank. Yeah, like an army tank. And don't say why, because then you're just going to sound dumb. Like, you don't understand why a tank would be fun? You understand why it'd be fun to just roll around, be able to roll over trees or, I don't know, small cars, whatever you want it to. You have a tank, it'd be great. I love it. I told you I would tell you what I got Miss Parker for Christmas. And this is Miss Parker. This is advice. This is as close as I can get to relationship advice because I'm terrible with the relationship advice. I have a good relationship, which is why I'm bad with relationship advice, if that makes sense. But Miss Parker, you know what she asked me for Christmas? Don't fall for this, gentlemen. Don't fall. Rookies, you guys that are in your 20s, or maybe if you got a late start, you newlywed guys, 30s or whatever, listen to me. My wife asked me for a biometric scale. That way you can stand on it, and it has these little things that you hold that are connected to the scale that you stand on, these little handles. And it runs a small circuit through you so it can tell you what your body mass index is between your right foot, right hand, left hand. It can tell you, your legs and your arms, and it just gives you a full picture of your physical fitness. That's a trap, sir. That's a trap. Don't do it. Because, dude, think about it. If you buy your wife a scale for Christmas, the first thing she's going to think is, he thinks I'm fat. Even if she asked for it, maybe she would be happy with it. I wasn't going to test it. Here's what I did do. And you need to do it this year. I'm putting this in your head now because this isn't going to help you today or tomorrow, but maybe in a few weeks or a few months from now, this will snap into place for you. But go back a little bit. I don't know, a couple months or so. I guess it's only about a month. Me and Miss Parker went into a foo-foo coffee shop in Bug Tussle. And while we're waiting on our order, next to it is an antique shop, as foo-foo coffee shops will do. So we went over there, and it was just all junk. You didn't need anything in your entire life in that entire antique shop. If you never owned any of that stuff, your life would be just the same. So it's all like a Pier 1. When Pier 1 existed, there's nothing you ever needed in Pier 1. You could have lived your entire life without it. So Miss Parker loves this place. And that's not a slight on her. It's just women are different. And there was this one lamp, and I saw it, and I was like, hey, look, it's a cute little naked angel. And my wife saw it, and she stopped. She's like, I really like this. And she reached down, and she touched it, and she kind of caressed it. And Miss Parker's an artist, so she has appreciation for things that are way over my head. I'm Captain Caveman when I'm standing next to her. But it had the slopey lampshade. There was the fringe at the bottom. It looked like a classical piece of art. It looked very classy. It looked very well put together. It wasn't just something that was an injectable plastic mold that they cranked out and sold at Big Lots. This was a piece of art. And it was a decent price. And so I told her, damn it, lady, you better not waste your money on that stupid lamp. Circled back a week later. Bought it myself, gave it to her for Christmas. Big hit. Hey, see? We did it. So the other thing I like to do on the James Show is I like to ask you what you got your spouse. Last year, the winner, whoever got the best present, because this is what this is. This is a Texas thing. This is a contest where, all right, transplants, people who aren't from Texas, what I mean in Texas language when I say, what did you get your spouse, is we're having a contest to see who got the biggest and baddest present for their spouse. That's all that is. And that's where the homecoming mom came from. Some guy in Texas was taking his girl to the prom, and he got her a little corsage to put on her lapel, and it was so cute. But his rival guy, I don't know, the captain of the football team or maybe the second string quarterback on the football team, he picked up his date for the dance and he gave her a much bigger corsage. And the first guy said, well, hell, I'm not going to be out corsaged by this nerd. So at the next dance, it's a giant corsage. And then the next guy had to get a giant mum. And then it had ribbons coming off of it. And now it's gone up to this ribbons and bells and lace and their names and LED lights. And some of them play songs and have teddy bears and music. And go Panthers 2026. So that's the same thing that I'm asking for here. What did you get your spouse for Christmas? The winner so far this year, and it's not done. I'll give you until the New Year's Eve show before we finish this. The winner so far is a Ford F-150. That's a gift, my friend. That's fantastic. It wasn't a brand new one, but that was kind of sweet. Another honorable mention was a 3-horse trailer with a dressing room. Not bad. Not as awesome as a Ford F-150, but I know how nice that can be. The winner last year, Brandon, got his daughter, who I think 15, 16, 17, somewhere in that age, like still high school age, got her an airplane. What? I was happy when I got a Nintendo for Christmas one year. An airplane? So Brandon won last year. Who's going to win this year? Send me a Facebook message or an email, Parker at WBAP. I'm going to continue to compile these because I want to see how ridiculously big the presents can get. Or if you did something funny. I like those too. Let's try Dolly in Hillsboro. You're on WBAP. What'd you get your spouse?
Oh, no, what he got me. He
Okay.
got me a fountain for my pond.
A fountain like the one you buy at Home Depot?
I don't know. It's huge. I mean,
Okay, no,
it's
then no.
It's not a little teeny tiny fountain.
That's
no,
awesome.
it is.
That is so cool. How high up does it shoot, Dolly?
Oh, how high do you think? At least 15 feet.
That's fantastic. That's a great
I'm
gift.
telling you, it's so gorgeous.
So you just have a pond in your yard, front yard, backyard?
It's about an acre pond, and we have about half acre.
Can people see it from the road?
We have about 5 or 6. Yeah, it's by a road.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
It is so cool.
So do you have a spotlight on it too?
No, we didn't do that. We just turned it off at night.
Okay, well, let's do that next year.
Okay, I'll tell him.
Well, I love that gift. That's fantastic. Dolly in Hillsboro. Appreciate that. See, country people can get better gifts. It's hard to squeeze a fountain in when you live in a 6-story apartment, right? Where are you going to put it? We'll just shoot water off the roof. We'll just run a garden hose out the window. I'll chuck it up to you to the ceiling. You can just, I don't know, squirt the parking garage with it or something. Not nearly as fun. Coming up next on the James Show, we have a little bit of breaking news. I heard this mentioned. We're going to read a little bit into it, but Trump is now scolding Ukraine because Russia is claiming one of Putin's homes was attacked. Now, who's telling the truth? Because Zelensky's saying he's lying. We'll break down this breaking news next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So are Russia and Ukraine going to work this thing out or not? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Right before the James Show started today, Donald Trump came out and he had been meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. And when he came out to take questions, the first question was about a reported strike on one of Vladimir Putin's homes, assumably by Ukraine. Zelensky says he's lying. Putin says he's lying. But I just thought maybe you'd want to hear his answer on this, because the takeaway I get from this, and I hate to lead the witness, but Trump's trying to downplay this so no one gets their feelings hurt, and we can go ahead and get through the peace process without anyone getting emotional.
We'll see you later.
Are you worried that the strike, the alleged strike on Putin's residence, would scuttle peace?
Yeah, I don't like it. It's not good. I heard about it this morning. You know who told me about it? President Putin told me about it. Early in the morning, he said he was attacked. That's no good. It's no good. Don't forget, the tomahawks. I stopped the tomahawks. I didn't want that. Because we're talking about, it's a delicate period of time. This is not the right time. It's one thing to be offensive, because they were offensive. It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that, and can't do it. And I learned about it from President Putin today. I was very angry about it. What?
Don't you have U.S. intelligence services that monitor that region very closely? Is there any evidence?
Well, it came out. Well, we'll find out. I mean, you're saying maybe the attack didn't take place. It's possible too, I guess. But President Putin told me this morning it did.
One question, Mr. President. Can you
All right, so that's the quick rundown from Putin, and that was right before the James Show started, so sort of breaking news here. And I don't know who to believe in a situation like this. I don't trust Putin for 5 seconds. I don't trust Zelensky for 5 seconds. But let's do the hypotheticals here. If this did actually happen, that's really dumb if you're Ukraine and you're trying to come up with a peace deal. But it's not really dumb if you want to blow up the peace deal, if you want to make Putin walk away from this deal because you don't like it. But look, that almost makes sense. You're Ukraine. You don't want to take this peace deal, but you don't want to look like you're not accepting the peace deal. So you tick off Putin. He withdraws. You get what you wanted anyway. Putin looks like the bad guy. That is one hypothesis. The other one is that he's lying. The other one is that maybe he was actually trying to assassinate Putin, which isn't really good for peace talks either. But this isn't what you would do if you wanted the war to end. This is what you would do if you wanted to antagonize Putin, because it's not even an effective strike. It has no, or I should say little military value. You don't get to take any territory that is currently under Russian control. You don't get to regain any territory that you lost. It doesn't hurt the logistics or the food supply or the supply lines or the capabilities of the Russian military. So this is an odd duck of a strike if it happened. If it didn't happen, then Putin's lying about it. Again, wouldn't be surprised. Because the thing that's really hard for me and a lot of people to remember is that there's not always a good guy and a bad guy when it comes to conflicts. Sometimes two bad guys are fighting each other, and you just there's not a side you should take or could take if you wanted to end up being on the correct side of history. But I thought that was an interesting sidebar into a discussion that we actually started the show with that topic. I just hadn't heard the audio yet, and there you go. So the number one story that was trending over the weekend, really since December 26th, the day after Christmas, this guy named Nick Shirley, he goes and actually investigates some of these Somali businesses that are caught up in these fraud schemes. You know, we've talked about 59 people have already been convicted of felony fraud counts over these different programs, Feeding Our Future, and it's a Somali community, and it's in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, under Tim Walz, so there's the political aspect to it too. But the amazing part of this is it's just some guy named Nick and some guy named Dave. And they go around with a camera and a microphone, and they go knock on the doors of these Somali daycare centers and autistic learning centers and home health care providers and healthcare transportation services. There's all kind of grifts. And he goes to all of them in one day. He tries to talk to them. No one talks to him. No one shows him around. He doesn't see one child at any of these daycare centers. No children. And they're getting millions and millions of taxpayer dollars. Some of it from the state of Minnesota. Some of it's matched by federal dollars from you. Now, the whole video is 40-something minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing for you. But just know, more people have now seen this video since Christmas than watched the Super Bowl in February. Remember when the Eagles beat Mahomes and the Chiefs? More people have now seen this video. And the funniest part is when they go to some learning center and on the sign, learning is misspelled. It's missing the first N. So it just says Learing, Learing. So it's the Learing Center.
And now we have a group of Somalis telling us in our vehicle right now.
From this daycare center, we headed over to the infamous Quality Learning Center, which actually spells Quality Learing Center on the outside of their sign. That's how blatant this fraud is here at this daycare.
Don't open up! So this is Quality Learing Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open
They said they spelled learning wrong.
Don't open up!
How do you have ice here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open up!
So there's some lady who's just looks like a stereotypical AI generated urban white liberal female. What are they called? The awfuls? Affluent white awful. What does that spell? Female urban liberal. Awful. She's one of those. She's got the glasses on. She has a knit cap on, but she's not wearing a stitch of makeup, and she's lying, just screaming to interrupt the audio feed and the video so it's unusable, lying about ICE being there. I don't know why she would lie about ICE being there, but apparently that's the scariest thing in the world to people. Oh no, someone's going to enforce the law. Look out, y'all. But he goes from store to store. No one's there. No services are being provided. And in one day, he cross-referenced that with the database of how much money that they're getting from you. And it was $111 million from all the daycares he went to and all the autistic care centers, home health care centers, whatnot. But the amazing part of this video isn't the fact that this one guy with a camera and a microphone went out and busted these people. It's that ABC, NBC, and CBS didn't. CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News didn't send anybody out there just to go knock on some doors. Hey, there's a big controversy, and some people are saying there's a fraud going on within the Somali community in Minneapolis. ABC, all you could do is go knock on some doors and prove them wrong. Prove all the evil MAGA Trump tards wrong. But they didn't do it. They didn't care. Because if the grift isn't happening, whatever. If it is happening, that's bad for business. That's bad for the narrative. But I wanted to ask you, is there some place I can go knock on doors around here and go viral like that? Because I would like for 130 million people to see me go knock on a door and say, listen, this is taxpayer money going to this project, and it's empty. It's just a fraud. It's just a grift. Where is it in your neighborhood? Because the guy that was leading Nick around to all these places, he's a local. He's like, I drive past this every day. I've driven past this hundreds of times. Never seen a kid for years. For half a decade, this daycare's been open, not one kid. Do you have some inside info like that for me? Send it to me. Parker at WBAP.com. Parker at WBAP.com. Because I would love to bust these guys. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, you're going to hear about the fraud. All these stories coming out of Minnesota. Well, did you know it's happening in Washington State and Ohio as well? Hear the expansion of a terrible story coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Have you seen any scams in your area? You know, Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins were talking about this. They're on before me, 11 to 2 on WBAP. And they kind of had the same thought I did. Are you driving past scams? Is there any doors I need to go knock on? Because this guy, Nick, that's it. His name's Nick Shirley. He doesn't work for the Dallas Express. He doesn't work for Fox News. He's just a dude who went out there with his camera, cell phone, tried to go to some of these daycares that were being called out as being frauds in the Somali community in Minneapolis. And what he found has now been seen by more people than watched the Super Bowl last year. And when you find out that in one day, this guy just walked you through $111 million in taxpayer-funded grift, you think, oh my goodness, that's terrible for the Somali community in Minnesota. Problem is, this is happening in other states as well. I saw when this happened, this got released on December 26th. Immediately, the ninjas on the internet started doing similar things in their states, running some numbers. And we learned there's reports that about a third of the daycares in the state of Washington are owned by Somalis. And there's not enough kids to fill them. When you learn, like in Washington, what was it, 15,000 Somalis in the entire state, and they have 539 daycares. So if 30% of them are minors, which is kind of the average, the demographic breakdown for the Somali population in Minnesota. I didn't find it for Washington. I was just trying to find something close to it. That means there's a daycare for every 9 Somali children in the state, which belies credulity. Something similar is happening in Ohio. It got called out by, her name is Mahek Cook. I don't know what kind of name Mahek is, Mehek, but she looks like Miss America or Miss Syria or Iran. I don't know. She looks kind of Persian or something. But this beautiful lady is all over something similar in Ohio that sounds just as bad.
And what do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Don't open up.
Oh, wait, this is the wrong spot. I love that lady too. Hang on.
So these individuals tried to report the fraud that was happening in Ohio and then eventually came to me to say that we're watching providers rubber stamp paperwork for home health. So in Ohio, and there's many states like this, Pennsylvania and other states too, where you can go in and you can say my aging parent needs a home health care and I want to provide it. So the state will, as long as a doctor has approved it, continue to pay you. It could be for 10 hours, 12 hours, up to 24 when it's critical care. So you could sit at home without caring for an elderly parent who really doesn't need it, make about $75,000 to $90,000 a year. Now you add 2 parents, that's $180,000. Now you add your in-laws, $250,000. You continue to add this and you wonder, what are the services being provided? So a lot of providers came and said, fraud is occurring because we said we weren't going to rubber stamp this paperwork, so they went to other providers. Their home healthcare network saying, we'll make it worth your while. Well, sounds like a kickback to me. So we really need to investigate the Medicaid system and how much it's increased since the Somalian population came and who really needs critical care, because that's meant for our disabled, our elderly, and people who really need it, not to just live off our system. And that's what's happening in Ohio. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's despicable, but authorities are now looking at it from the Attorney General's office to the U.S. Attorney's office. I flagged them all because this is Ohio tax dollars and we have to take it seriously. I'm tired of people telling me, well, this is the way it's always been. It's subjective and we can't really check. No, you can. Audit America, audit Ohio now. And I'm pushing for that in every single state.
So I'm seeing a lot of people online who are just shocked by this. Guess what? I am not shocked at all. If you're shocked by this, you haven't been paying attention to your economic history. And that's okay. That's not your job. You're not supposed to go out there and read books. You're supposed to be good at whatever you do. I don't know. Maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're a mechanical engineer. Maybe you sell downhole pumps in the oil patch. But this isn't something that should shock you. If you're shocked by this, just know this is the norm. This is what's going on in every state, in every government program. This is why we don't do things through government. This is why capitalism is better than socialism. This is why the Soviet Union only lasted for 70 years. This is happening all over the place. What I want you to do is tell me where you see it. Where can I go knock on a door? Let's just, while we're all in an uncovering grift sort of mood here, show me where I can go to knock on doors to get similar results. Because this is the most normal thing in the world. I just want you to remember this for future episodes. When I talk about we got to get rid of social programs, and you're like, yeah, we've got to cut back food stamps and cut back some of the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare and Medicaid. Nope, that's not what I'm talking about. We have got to get rid of food stamps. We have got to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. You think, well, James, I mean, how can we afford to do it? We can't afford to keep doing it. What we are doing is a fiscal nightmare that has us $38 trillion in debt, and the highest expense, even bigger than our military every year, is just the natural interest on this debt that we're continuing to pile up. And we can't even cut Elmo without people having a baby. Sylvia in Madisonville, you're on WBAP.
Hi, James. I love your show. I don't always agree with you, but probably 95% of the time I do. I was living about 6 or 7 years ago in the Frisco, Little Elm area, and had a little girlfriend who went to apply for a job and at a daycare center, and she was filling out the forms and everything and turned it in, and then she starts looking around and realizing this is during the work week, and she's not seeing or hearing any kids in there at all.
Oh my! Send me the address. Send me the address. We'll have someone go check it out. I'm serious. You think I'm playing?
No.
Look, because from my point of view, all I got to do is go knock on some doors of obvious government grift, and I'm going to have more people watch my video than the Super Bowl. I don't expect to go viral the same way Nick Shirley did, but I could do my little part to expose some of this stuff. Send me the address.
Absolutely. It's absolutely happening all over the United States, definitely in Texas. The grift is ongoing every day. It's disgusting to look at because you see them, you see them at their houses selling the stuff they just bought off their EBT card.
Well, look, again, I just can't stress enough. This shouldn't shock you. This is happening in every government program because the government doesn't have the built-in incentive that the private sector does, whether it's a for-profit business or a nonprofit charity. You do a terrible job. You don't watch where your dollars and cents go. You are going to be out of business. Your doors are going to be closed, and they're going to be closed very soon. But if you're the government, you do not have that natural backstop. So you don't care. You get paid the same. Doesn't affect your life one whit, whether or not this money's legit or not. Danny, Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. Hey, Danny.
Hey, when it comes to Nick Shirley, I've been watching Nick Shirley for a couple of years now. This guy, he's a good guy. He goes to a lot of these protests and tries to have a conversation with a lot of these leftists.
Are you going to tell me he got beat up in Michigan a couple months ago?
No, but yeah, he did.
Yeah, I remember that. That's where I know him from. I'm kind of late to the Nick Shirley game, so.
Yeah, he also got beat up, I think, in New York as well. He was one of the protests over there. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's doing a lot of the work that a lot of people are not doing nowadays, and it's unfortunate. There's so much business out there that all these news stations can actually get a lot of good content, but unfortunately, it's not happening. Now, where it comes to the all these scams that's going on, you don't have to go far. You can go to here in California. Just give you an example. In California,
hey, listen, I'm running out of time. If there's someplace I can go around here, send me an address, parker@wbap.com. And when I get a chance, I'll go check it out, try and squeeze it into my schedule. Coming up next, though, sorry I had to cut you off. We're just playing Dead or Alive next. And we're playing for a voucher good for 2 rodeo tickets to the 2026 Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. So if you want to go to the Pro Rodeo Tournament, call in right now to play Dead or Alive, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And I haven't got the official email yet, but I imagine I'll be at the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo just like I have been the last couple of years. And today on today's edition of Dead or Alive, we're playing for 2 rodeo tickets to the 2026 Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. And we're going to do it with... Wait, I still have one line open. If you want to play Dead or Alive, 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I thought they were full, but there's one line open. On Dead or Alive. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to today's edition of Dead or Alive. Today's category is Singing Johns. Singing Johns is the category for today's edition of Dead or Alive. We're playing for a voucher good for 2 rodeo tickets to the 2026 Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. It includes same-day general admission to the Stock Show grounds. So you can go check out all the good exhibits, bunch of tractors, pearl snap shirts, pygmy goats. They got everything. If you're new to the James Show, all I'm going to do here is I'm going to name 10 Singing Johns. You have to tell me if they're dead or alive. Sounds easy. It is. We're going to start with Lori. Lori in Arlington, you're first up on Dead or Alive. Are you confident in your knowledge of Singing Johns?
Not really, but I'm going to give it a try.
Oh, come on, Lori. This is easier than it sounds. First off, John Rich from Big and Rich. Is he dead or alive?
Alive.
You sounded like you didn't know. Was that a guess?
It was.
Oh, you don't listen to country music?
I'm not a big country fan, but I like some country.
Well, he's still alive, and you got it right. So we're on to number 2. The singer Dr. John. He was in the right place at the wrong time, but is he dead or alive?
Dead.
John Oates from Hall & Oates. Is he dead or alive?
Alive.
Johnny Cash, the man in black, dead or alive?
Dead.
Johnny Paycheck, the guy who could take this job and shove it, dead or alive?
Dead.
Died in 2003. Sunshine on My Shoulders, John Denver, dead or alive?
I'm sorry, say it again.
John Denver.
John Denver is dead.
Johnny Horton, who wasn't born here, but he graduated from high school in Texas, briefly went to Baylor, dead or alive?
Alive.
No, John Horton from the Battle of New Orleans.
Oh.
Yeah, he died in 1960, so it's been a while on that one. Thank you very much, Lori in Arlington. We move on to Peyton in Dallas. Hey, Peyton.
How you doing, James?
Do you have your window rolled down or something? You got a lot of noise.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
That's much better. All right, cool. We're in the middle of the Singing John edition of Dead or Alive. We're down to John Fogerty, dead or alive?
I'm going to say dead.
No, John Fogerty's alive. 80 years old, though, so I can see why you would think he may not be with us. Thank you very much, Peyton in Dallas. Terry in McKinney, you're on Dead or Alive, and there's only 2 left. You ready?
I'm ready.
The country singer John Michael Montgomery. You know, I love the way you love me. Oh, didn't even let me finish my exposition. And finally, from the Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
No, Terry. Terry, no! He's 69 years old for just a little bonus action there, but looks like it's going to go to Brian in Fort Worth. You have to do absolutely nothing but say you want the tickets. You want the tickets?
I want the tickets.
Then you get them. You get them. You know what? I like it when that happens. Brian in Fort Worth, I'm going to put you on hold. One of the Garretts is going to get your information. We'll send you an email because you have just won 2 tickets to the 2026 Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. It includes same-day general admission to the Stock Show grounds. And if you want to go, come out, say hi. I'll be broadcasting there. I'll let you know when later. But it's a good time. Just ask your phone. It knows. And this has been today's edition of Dead or Alive. Coming up next on the James Show, Shane Gillis has a funny skit about kidnapping. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, let's have a little fun on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Not that we haven't been having fun this whole time. But we're on your home for Markley, Van Cam, and Robbins. Check them out from 11 to 2. They're fantastic. They take the news just about as serious as I do, which is really not at all. Shane Gillis had a funny skit on kidnapping your kids. And the reason why I'm playing this for you is because I think myself, and Mrs. Parker have made this exact same joke.
I miss Parker.
Now, we don't really mean it, but it's just kind of a funny play on what's obviously it's a tragedy anytime someone gets kidnapped. But check out Shane Gillis playing the dad of a son who got kidnapped.
We might see a lot of that tonight, both sides. Looking fastball, he threw me fast.
Hello.
I have your son,
What? Who is this?
the Sparrow.
Is that like a black name?
I want $2,500.
$2,500? What are you, buying the Lakers?
You have 30 minutes to hand deliver.
That's way too high. He's never gonna pay it.
What?
Did you not hear what I said?
Keep him. He's a pain in my...
I'll just bring him back.
Oh, no. You don't have to do that. Let's pump the brakes on this.
2,500, or I'm bringing back your son.
40.
2,000, or I'm bringing the kid back right now.
I'll give you $400. You babysit him for the weekend.
We have a deal.
Terrific.
The other soundbite that I thought you would enjoy. I've never seen this guy before in my life. He's a House of Representatives fella, Randy Ogles. And he got caught in these conversations that we have on the James Show where I'll play you a clip from someone who says, look, a new report says that 70% of the people deported by ICE don't have any criminal records other than immigration violations. So Donald Trump lied, and he lied, and they said they were just going to go after criminals, but they're deporting anybody who's here illegally. Yeah, actually, that's what we want. We don't want it to just be the criminals. We would like to focus on the criminals. We can start with the criminals, but no one has ever said that we're only going to deport criminals and only criminals. And if you think that somehow separates Trump from his base, or even the people who are just not in love with him, just marginally supportive of him, it's not going to work, because we want the same thing. If you're here illegally, you should be deported. It really is that simple.
Deport them all. This is our country. We get to decide who comes in, and we get to decide who has to leave. And I say deport them all. 90% that have come into this country are from third world countries, most of which are sucking resources from American citizens, burdening our cities. They do not belong here.
Yes, that's another good one. All right, let me address a comment that came in. I had mentioned I want to get rid of all entitlements, including Social Security and Medicare. And for some new people who've never heard the show before or never heard me say that, they just get all blown up. And I expect that. This happens almost every time it comes up. I'm sure regular listeners of the show either agree with me or roll their eyes or kind of understand but still disagree why I say that. But let me address this guy right here, because I don't do it every time, but he actually left a pretty good comment. This is Mark on Facebook. He says, are you on drugs or a communist dictator? Well, Mark, I'm neither, but thank you. Social Security is not an entitlement, and neither is Medicare. Oh, really? It's not. All right, let's go look up the definition of entitlement program. What is an entitlement program? Here it is. Entitlement programs are government initiatives that provide benefits to individuals who meet specific eligibility criteria, such as age, income, or disability. These are programs like Social Security and Medicare. I'm not kidding. That is the first example that they brought up was Social Security and Medicare. So it absolutely is an entitlement program. And already, look, this is a long paragraph. I'm only in the first two sentences. But do you realize the irony of you calling me a communist dictator because I oppose redistribution of wealth? Isn't that a little odd? Is that what a communist dictator would do? No, a communist dictator would do Social Security and Medicare. These are socialist programs. Anyway, I'll continue with Mark's comment. He says, we paid decades of involuntary deductions into those programs to fund portions of our retirement and health care. And you want to take it away from millions of Americans that worked hard all their life and couldn't survive without it. Well, what you call paying decades of involuntary deductions into programs normal people call taxes. And so just because you pay a tax into an entitlement program doesn't mean it's not an entitlement program. It's still an entitlement program. In fact, entitlement programs are all funded by taxes. It's nothing new or a shock. It's kind of expected part of the course. And I am not taking the funding away. The funding's already been spent. It's going to run out in about 5 years. And I'm not the guy who robbed the bank. I'm the guy who's showing up telling you the bank vault is empty. And you're like, well, why'd you steal all the money? I didn't steal it. And I disagree with the idea that all these people would die if we took away Social Security and Medicare. How do I know? Because we survived all of American history up until LBJ without Medicare. And we just started getting Social Security around World War II. And we didn't have old people just dying in the streets because no one would take care of them. He says, when we start getting Medicare, we still pay one way or another for our health care. It's not 100% paid by the government. Oh, I understand that. I get that. So before you spout off and expose how ignorant you are about certain programs, you should get educated on them. It is not an entitlement by any means. It is the most perfect definition of an entitlement program, sir. And it doesn't make it any better because you say I'm uneducated. I consider myself fairly well educated on these programs. I'm familiar with the ages you got to turn them on, how to max out your Social Security benefit. Your Medicare age is 65. I know what parts you have to turn on at 65. I know about IRMA, the income-related adjustments to your monthly payment, which is if you have too much income, that gets way bumped up. I know how all that works. I know that there's premiums. I know that there's deductibles. I know that there's co-pays. I know that there's a whole lot of stuff that Medicare doesn't cover. Ears, hearing, eyesight, podiatry, bunch of random stuff. No, I'm quite well versed at it. But even if I got into a car wreck on the way home and got brain damage and was on the level of an 8-year-old, I would still be right. These are entitlement programs. They are anathema to a free market capitalist ethos. They are socialist programs. They are doomed to fail. We cannot afford them on a long enough time scale. The Soviet Union proved that. They had the first fully Marxist, everything the Marxists dreamed about, and the most arguably technologically advanced country. I mean, they went to space before anybody else did, right? Put a human in space, put a satellite in space, dog in space, monkey in space before anyone else did, put a probe on the moon before anyone else did. It only lasted 40 years. Because I don't care how you feel about Medicare or Social Security, there's this thing called math that does not care about your feelings. And you don't have to believe me now. Just check back in about 7 years when these programs collapse. I'll take an apology. 800-288-9227. Or I'm sorry, if you have anything to add to the show after that, Parker at WBAP.com or find me on Facebook. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.